Dinner time, Jeremiah 33. And the word of Jehovah came to Yirmiyahu a second time, while he was shut up in the court of the guard, saying, Thus said Jehovah, who made it, Jehovah who formed it to establish it. Jehovah is his name. Call upon me, and I shall answer you, and show you great and inaccessible matters which you have not known. For thus said Jehovah, the Elohim of Israel, concerning the houses of this city and the houses of the sovereigns of Yehudah, which are thrown down against the siege mounds and the sword, while coming to fight with the Kasdim, and to fill their places with the corpses of men, whom I shall strike in my displeasure and my wrath, all for whose evil I have hidden my face from this city. See, I am bringing to it relief and healing, and I shall heal them and reveal to them the riches of peace and truth. And I shall turn back the captivity of Yehudah and the captivity of Israel, and shall build them as at the first, and shall cleanse them from all their crookedness, that they have sinned against me. And I shall pardon all their crookednesses that they have sinned, and by which they have transgressed against me. And it shall be to me a name of joy, a praise, and a pride before all nations of the earth, who hear all the good I am doing to them, and they shall fear and tremble for all the goodness and all the peace I am doing to it. Thus said Jehovah, in this place of which you say, it is dried up, without man and without beast, in the cities of Yehudah, in the streets of Jerusalem, that are deserted, without man and without inhabitant and without beast, there shall once again be heard the voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, the voice of those who are saying, Praise Jehovah of hosts, for Jehovah is good, and his loving commitment is forever. Of those who are burning the offering of praise into the house of Jehovah. For I shall turn back the captivity of the land, as the first, declares Jehovah. Thus said Jehovah of hosts, in this place which is dried up, without man and without beast, and in all its cities there shall once again be a home of shepherds, causing their flocks to lie down. In the cities of the mountains, in the cities of the low country, and in the cities of the south, and in the land of Benjamin, and in the places around Jerusalem, and in the cities of Yehudah, the flocks once again pass under the hands of him who counts them, declares Jehovah. See, the days are coming, declares Jehovah, when I shall establish the good word which I have promised to the house of Israel and to the house of Yehudah. In those days and at that time I cause a branch of righteousness to spring forth for David, and he shall do right ruling and righteousness in the earth. In those days Yehudah shall be saved, and Jerusalem dwell in safety. And this is that which shall be proclaimed to her, Jehovah our righteousness. For thus said Jehovah, for David there is not to cease a man to sit on the throne of the house of Israel. And for the priests, the Levites, there is not to cease a man to offer ascending offerings before me, to kindle grain offerings, and to slaughter continually. And the word of Jehovah came to Yirmiyahu, saying, Thus said Jehovah, if you could break my covenant with the day, and my covenant with the night, so that there be not day and night in their season, then my covenant could also be broken with David my servant, so that he shall not have a son to reign upon his throne, and with the Levites, the priest, my attendants. As the host of the heavens is not counted, nor the sand of the sea measured, so I increase the descendants of David, my servant, and the Levites who attend upon me. And the word of Jehovah came to Yirmiyahu, saying, Have you not observed what these people have spoken, saying, The 2 clans which Jehovah has spoken have been rejected by him. So they have despised my people, no more to be a nation before them. Thus said Jehovah, if my covenant is not with day and night, and if I have not appointed the laws of the heavens and earth, then I would also reject the descendants of Jacob and David, my servant, so that I should not take his descendants to be rulers over the descendants of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob. For I shall turn back their captivity and have compassion on them. The word which came to Yirmiyahu from Jehovah, when Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, and all his army, and all the reigns of the earth, under his rule, and all the people fought against Jerusalem and all its cities, saying, Thus said Jehovah, the Elohim of Israel, Go and speak to Sidkiyahu, sovereign of Yehuda, and say to him, Thus said Jehovah, See, I am giving this city into the hand of the sovereign of Babel, and he shall burn it with fire. And you shall not escape out of his hand, but certainly be taken and given into his hand. And your eyes shall see the eyes of the sovereign of Babel, and his mouth shall speak with your mouth, and you shall go to Babel. But hear the word of Jehovah, O Sidkiyahu, sovereign of Yehuda. Thus said Jehovah concerning you, You shall not die by the sword. In peace you are to die, and as in the burnings of spices for your fathers, the former sovereigns who were before you, so they shall burn spices for you and lament for you, saying, Alas, Master, for I have spoken the word, declares Jehovah. And Yirmiyahu the prophet spoke all these words to Sidkiyahu, the sovereign of Yehuda, in Jerusalem, while the sovereign of Babel's army was fighting against Jerusalem, and all the cities of Yehuda were left against Lachish and Azekah, for only these walled cities remained of the cities of Yehuda. The word which came to Yirmiyahu from Jehovah, the sovereign Sidkiyahu, had made a covenant with all the people who were at Jerusalem to proclaim release to them, that everyone was to set free his male and female slave, the Hebrew man and the Hebrew woman. No one was to keep a Yehudi, his brother, enslaved. And when all the heads and all the people who had come into the covenant heard that each one was to set free his male and female slaves, and not keep them enslaved any longer, they obeyed and released them. But afterward they changed their minds, and made the male and female slaves return, whom they have set free, and brought them into subjection as male and female slaves. Therefore the word of Jehovah came to Yirmiyahu from Jehovah, saying, Thus said Jehovah, the Elohim of Israel, I myself made a covenant with your fathers in the day that I brought them out of the land of Mizraim, out of the house of bondage, saying, At the end of 7 years each one should set free his Hebrew brother, who has been sold to him. And when he has served you 6 years, you shall let him go free from you. But your fathers did not obey me, nor incline their ear. And you recently turned and did what was right in my eyes, each man proclaiming release to his neighbor. And you made a covenant before me in the house which is called by my name. But you turned back and profaned my name, and each one of you took back his male and female slaves, whom he had set free at their pleasure, and brought them into subjection to be your male and female slaves. Therefore thus said Jehovah, You have not obeyed me in proclaiming release, each one to his brother and each one to his neighbor. See, I am proclaiming release to you, declares Jehovah, to the sword, to the pestilence, and to the scarcity of food. And I shall make you a horror to all reigns of the earth. And I shall give the men who are transgressing my covenant, who have not established the word of the covenant which they made before me, when they cut the calf in two and passed between the parts of it, the heads of Yehuda and the heads of Jerusalem, the eunuchs and the priests, and all the people of the land who passed between the parts of the calf. And I shall give them into the hand of their enemies, and into the hand of those who seek their life. And their corpses shall be for food to the birds of the heavens and the beasts of the earth. And I shall give Sidkiyahu, sovereign of Yehuda, and his heads into the hands of their enemies, and into the hands of those who seek their life, and into the hand of the sovereign of Babel's army that was withdrawn from you. See, I am commanding, declares Jehovah, and shall bring them back to this city, and they shall fight against it, and take it, and burn it with fire, and I shall make the cities of Yehuda a ruin without inhabitant. The word which came to Yirmiyahu from Jehovah in the days of Jehoiakim, son of Yoshiyahu, sovereign of Yehuda, saying, Go to the house of the Rechabites, and you shall speak to them, and bring them into the house of Jehovah, into one of the rooms, and give them wine to drink. And I took Azaniah, the son of Yirmiyahu, the son of Habatzinyah, and the brothers and all his sons, and all the house of Rechabites, and brought them into the house of Jehovah, into the room of the sons of Hanan, son of Yigdalyahu, a man of Elohim, which was by the chamber of the heads, above the room of Asiyahu, son of Shallum, the keeper of the door. And I set before the sons of the house of the Rechabites bowls filled with wine, and cups, and I said to them, Drink wine. But they said, We do not drink wine, because Jonadab, the son of Rechab, our father, commanded us, saying, You shall not drink wine, neither you nor your sons forever. And do not build a house, neither sow seed, nor plant a vineyard, nor have any of these, but dwell in tents all your days, so that you live many days on the face of the land where you are sojourners. So we obeyed the voice of Jonadab, son of Rechab, our father, in all that he commanded us, to drink no wine all our days, we, our wives, our sons, and our daughters, nor to build ourselves houses to dwell in. And we have no vineyard, field, or seed, but we dwell in tents, and have obeyed and done according to all that Jonadab our father commanded us. And it came to be, when Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, came up into the land, that we said, Come, let us go to Jerusalem, for fear of the army of the Kasdim, and for fear of the army of the Arameans. So we dwell at Jerusalem. And the word of Jehovah came to Yirmiyahu, saying, Thus said Jehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Yisrael, Go, and you shall say to the men of Yehuda and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, Have you not received instruction to obey my words, declares Jehovah? The words of Jonadab, son of Rechab, which he commanded his sons not to drink wine, are established, and they have not drunk unto this day, for they have obeyed their father's command. And as for me, I have spoken to you, rising early and speaking, but you have not obeyed me. And I sent to you all my servants the prophets, rising up early and sending them, saying, Turn, each one from his evil way, and make good your deeds, and do not go after other mighty ones to serve them. And you shall dwell in the land which I have given you and your fathers, but you have not inclined your ear, nor obeyed me. The sons of Jonadab, son of Rechab, have indeed carried out the command of their father, which he commanded them, but this people has not obeyed me. Therefore thus said Jehovah, Elohim of hosts, the Elohim of Yisrael, See, I am bringing on Yehuda and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem all the evil I have pronounced against them, because I have spoken to them, but they did not listen, and I have called to them, but they did not answer. And Yirmiyahu said to the house of the Rechabites, Thus said Jehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Yisrael, because you have obeyed the command of Jonadab your father, and guarded all his commands, and done according to all that he commanded you. Therefore thus said Jehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Yisrael, of Jonadab, son of Achab, there shall never cease to be a man to stand before me. And it came to be in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, son of Yoshiahu, sovereign of Yehuda, that this word came to Yirmiyahu from Jehovah, saying, Take a scroll and write on it all the words that I have spoken to you against Israel and against Yehuda and against all the nations, from the day I spoke to you, from the days of Yoshiahu even to this day. It could be that the house of Yehuda hears all of the evil which I plan to bring upon them, so that each one turns back from his evil way, and I shall pardon their crookedness and their sin. And Yirmiyahu called Baruch, son of Neriah, and Baruch wrote on a scroll from the mouth of Yirmiyahu all the words of Jehovah which he had spoken to him. And Yirmiyahu commanded Baruch, saying, I am shut up. I am unable to enter the house of Jehovah. But you shall enter and shall read from the scroll which you have written from my mouth, the words of Jehovah in the hearing of the people in the house of Jehovah on the day of fasting, and also read them in the hearing of all Yehuda who come from their cities. It could be that they present their supplication before Jehovah, and they turn back, each one from his evil way. For great is the displeasure and the wrath that Jehovah has spoken against his people. And Baruch, son of Neriah, did according to all that Yirmiyahu the prophet commanded him, reading from the book the words of Jehovah in the house of Jehovah. And it came to be in the 5th year of Jehoiakim, son of Yoshiahu, sovereign of Yehuda, in the 9th new moon, that they called a fast before Jehovah to all the people in Jerusalem, and to all the people who came from the cities of Yehuda to Jerusalem. And Baruch read from the book the words of Yirmiyahu in the house of Jehovah, in the room of Germeyahu, son of Shaphan, the scribe, in the upper courtyard, at the entry of the new gate of the house of Jehovah, in the hearing of all the people. And Mikayehu, son of Germeyahu, son of Shaphan, heard all the words of Jehovah from the book. And then he went down to the sovereign's house, into the scribe's room, and there all the heads were sitting, Elishama the scribe, Delayahu, son of Shemayahu, and Elnathan, son of Akbor, and Gemariahu, son of Shaphan, and Sidkiyahu, son of Hananiahu, and all the heads. And Mikiyahu told them all the words which he heard when Baruch read the book in the hearing of the people. Then all the heads sent Yehudi, son of Nethanyahu, son of Shelemyahu, son of Cushi, to Baruch, saying, Take in your hand the scroll from which you have read in the hearing of the people, and come. So Baruch, son of Neriyahu, took the scroll in his hand and came to them. And they said to him, Sit down, please, and read it in our hearing. Then Baruch read it in their hearing. And it came to be, when they had heard all the words, that they looked at each other in fear and said to Baruch, We are certainly going to report all these words to the sovereign. And they asked Baruch, saying, Please explain to us, how did you write all these words? From his mouth? And Baruch answered them, From his mouth he spoke all these words to me, and I wrote them with ink in the book. Then the head said to Baruch, Go hide, you and Yirmiyahu, and let no one know where you are. And they went to the sovereign into the court, and they put the scroll in the room of Elishama the scribe, and told all the words in the hearing of the sovereign. The sovereign therefore sent Yehudi to bring the scroll, and he took it from the room of Elishama the scribe. And Yehudi read it in the hearing of the sovereign and in the hearing of all the heads standing beside the sovereign. And the sovereign was sitting in the winter house in the 9th new moon, with a fire burning in the hearth before him. Then it came to be, when Yehudi had read 3 or 4 columns, that the sovereign cut it with the scribe's knife and threw it into the fire that was on the hearth, until the entire scroll was burned in the fire that was on the hearth. And the sovereign and all his servants who heard all these words were not afraid, nor did they tear their garments. Moreover, Elnathan, Delaiah, and Gamaliel pleaded with the sovereigns not to burn the scroll, but he did not listen to them. And the sovereign commanded Yerahmeel, son of Sovereign, and Seraiah, son of Azriel, and Shelemiah, son of Abdeel, to seize Baruch the scribe and Yirmiyahu the prophet, but Jehovah had hid them. And after the sovereign had burned the scroll with the words which Baruch had written from the mouth of Yirmiyahu, the word of Jehovah came to Yirmiyahu, saying, Take another scroll, and write on it all the former words that were in the first scroll, which Jehoiakim the sovereign of Yehudah has burned. And say to Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehudah, Thus said Jehovah, You have burned this scroll, saying, Why have you written in it that the sovereign of Babel is certainly coming to destroy this land and cause man and beast to cease from here? Therefore thus said Jehovah concerning Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehudah, He shall have no one to sit on the throne of David, and his dead body is to be thrown out, and the heat of the day and the frost of the night. And I shall punish him and his seed and his servants for their crookedness, and I shall bring on them, and on the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and on the men of Yehudah, all the evil I have spoken against them. But they did not listen. So Yirmiyahu took another scroll and gave it to Baruch the scribe, son of Neriah, who wrote on it from the mouth of Yirmiyahu all the words of the book which Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehudah, had burned in the fire, and many similar words were added to them. And sovereign Sidkiyahu, son of Yoshiyahu, reigned instead of Coniahu, son of Jehoiakim, who Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, set up to reign in the land of Yehudah. But neither he nor his servants nor the people of the land had listened to the words of Jehovah, which he spoke by the prophet Yirmiyahu. And Sidkiyahu the sovereign sent Yehukal, son of Shelemiah, and the priest Sephaniah, son of Maaseiah, to the prophet Yirmiyahu, saying, Please pray to Jehovah our Elohim for us. Now Yirmiyahu was still coming and going among the people, for they had not yet put him in prison. Meanwhile, Pharaoh's army had set out from Mizraim, and when the Kasdim who were besieging Jerusalem heard news of them, they withdrew from Jerusalem. And the word of Jehovah came to Yirmiyahu the prophet, saying, Thus said Jehovah, the Elohim of Israel, Say this to the sovereign of Yehudah who sent you to me, to inquire of me. See, Pharaoh's army, which has come up to help you, shall turn back to Mizraim, to their own land. And the Kasdim shall return and fight against this city and take it and burn it with fire. Thus said Jehovah, Do not deceive yourselves, saying, The Kasdim shall go away from us, for they do not go. For though you had stricken the entire army of the Kasdim, who were fighting against you, and there remained only wounded men among them, they would get up, each man in his tent, and burn the city with fire. And it came to be when the army of the Kasdim left the siege of Jerusalem for fear of Pharaoh's army, that Yirmiyahu went out of Jerusalem to go into the land of Benjamin to receive his portion there in the midst of the people. And it came to be, as he went in the gates of Benjamin, a master of the guard was there whose name was Yeriah, son of Shelemiah, son of Hananiah. And he seized Yirmiyahu the prophet, saying, You are deserting to the Kasdim. But Yirmiyahu said, It is a lie. I am not deserting to the Kasdim. But he did not listen to him, and Yeriah seized Yirmiyahu and brought him to the heads. And the heads were wroth with Yirmiyahu, and struck him, and put him in prison in the house of Jehonathan the scribe, for they had made that for a prison. When Yirmiyahu had entered into the dungeon and into the cells, then Yirmiyahu remained there many days. And Sidkiyahu the sovereign sent and took him out. And the sovereign asked him secretly in his house, and said, Is there any word from Jehovah? And Yirmiyahu said, There is. And he said, Are you given into the hand of the sovereign of Babel? And Yirmiyahu said to Sidkiyahu the sovereign, What have I sinned against you and against your servants and against this people that you have put me into prison? Where are your prophets who prophesied to you, saying, The sovereign of Babel is not coming against you or against this land? But now, please hear, O my master the sovereign. Please let my petition be accepted before you, and do not make me return to the house of Jehonathan the scribe, lest I die there. Sidkiyahu the sovereign then commanded Yirmiyahu to be placed in the court of the guard, and that they should give him daily a piece of bread from the baker's street until all the bread in the city was gone. So Yirmiyahu remained in the court of the guard. And Shephatiah, son of Matan, and Gedaliahu, son of Pashur, and Ukal, son of Shalemyahu, and Pashur, son of Malchiah, heard the words which Yirmiyahu had spoken to all the people, saying, Thus said Jehovah, He who remains in this city shall die by the sword, by scarcity of food, and by pestilence. But whoever goes over to the Kasdim shall live, and his life shall be a prize to him, and he shall live. Thus said Jehovah, This city is certainly given into the hand of the sovereign of Babel's army, and he shall take it. Then the head said to the sovereign, Please let this man be put to death, because he is weakening the hands of the men of battle who are left in this city, and the hands of all the people by speaking such words to them. For this man does not seek the peace of this people, but the evil. And Sidkiyahu the sovereign said, Look, he is in your hand, for the sovereign is unable to do any matter against you. And they took Yirmiyahu and threw him into the dungeon of Malchiyahu, the sovereign's son, which was in the court of the guard. And they let Yirmiyahu down with ropes. And in the dungeon there was no water, but mud. So Yirmiyahu sank in the mud. And Ebed-Melech the Cushite, one of the eunuchs, who was in the sovereign's house, heard that they had put Yirmiyahu in the dungeon, and the sovereign was sitting at the gate of Benjamin. And Ebed-Melech came from the sovereign's house and spoke to the sovereign, saying, My master the sovereign, these men have done evil in all that they have done to Yirmiyahu the prophet, whom they have thrown into the dungeon, and he is likely to die from hunger in the place where he is, for there is no more bread in the city. And the sovereign commanded Ebed-Melech the Cushite, saying, Take 30 men from here with you, and lift Yirmiyahu the prophet out of the dungeon before he dies. So Ebed-Melech took the men with him, and went into the house of the sovereign under the treasury, and took old clothes and old rags from there, and let them down by ropes into the dungeon to Yirmiyahu. And Ebed-Melech the Cushite said to Yirmiyahu, Please put these old clothes and rags under your armpits until under the ropes, and Yirmiyahu did so. And they pulled Yirmiyahu up with ropes and lifted him out of the dungeon, and Yirmiyahu remained in the court of the guard. Then Sidkiyahu the sovereign sent and had Yirmiyahu the prophet brought to him at the third entrance of the house of Jehovah. And the sovereign said to Yirmiyahu, I am asking you a matter. Do not hide a matter from me. And Yirmiyahu said to Sidkiyahu, If I declare it to you, shall you not put me to death? And if I give you advice, you shall not listen to me. But Sidkiyahu the sovereign swore secretly to Yirmiyahu, saying, As Jehovah lives, who made us this life, I do not put you to death. nor do I give you into the hand of these men who seek your life. And Yirmiyahu said to Sidkiyahu, Thus said Jehovah, the Elohim of hosts, the Elohim of Yisrael, if you do indeed surrender to the heads of the sovereign of Babel, then your being shall live, and this city shall not be burned with fire, and you and your house shall live. But if you do not surrender to the heads of the sovereign of Babel, then this city shall be given into the hand of the Casdim, and they shall burn it with fire, and you shall not escape from their hand. Then Sidkiyahu the sovereign said to Yirmiyahu, I am afraid of the Yahudim who have gone over to the Casdim, lest they give me into their hand, and they maltreat me. And Yirmiyahu said, They shall not hand you over. Please obey the voice of Jehovah which I speak to you, and let it be well with you, and your life be spared. But if you refuse to surrender, this is the word that Jehovah has shown me. Then see, all the women who are left in the sovereign of Yehuda's house shall be surrendered to the heads of the sovereigns of Babel, and see, they are saying, Your close friends have set upon you and prevailed against you. Your feet have sunk in the mire. They have turned away again. And they are going to surrender all your wives and children to the Casdim, and you yourself shall not escape from their hand, and be taken by the hand of the sovereign of Babel, and this city shall be burned with fire. Then Sidkiyahu said to Yirmiyahu, Let no one know these words, and you shall not die. But if the heads hear that I have spoken with you, and they come to you, and you say, Declare to us now what you have said to the sovereign, and also what the sovereign said to you. Do not hide it from us, and we do not put you to death. Then you shall say to them, I presented my petition before the sovereign, not to send me back to the house of Jehonathan and die there. And all the heads came to Yirmiyahu and asked him, and he informed them according to all these words that the sovereign had commanded. And they said no more to him, for the matter was not heard. So Yirmiyahu remained in the court of the guard until the day that Yerushalayim was taken, and he was there when Yerushalayim was taken.